Not working tonight, so I hope we speak loud and clear tonight. I would like to call our regular board meeting to order at 7:35, located at 2350 South 25th Avenue in the Village Chambers. Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, you can, Madam President. Trustee Ely.
Present.
Trustee Tierney.
Present.
Trustee Jones.
Here.
Mayor Thompson.
Here.
Trustee Horn.
Here.
Trustee Abraham.
Here.
Trustee Brown Marino is absent. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? May we please have a moment of silence? Thank you. Next item on the agenda, item 2, public comments. The Village of Broadview encourages citizen input. Those wishing to address the village board under public comments must fill out the attached speaker request form and submit it to the village clerk prior to the start of the board meeting. The president will then call your name at the appropriate time. When addressing the village board, please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. When the president recognizes you, please state your name and address for the record and speak loudly. Your cooperation is greatly appreciated. Thank you. Madam President?
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Ms. Dempsey?
Princess Dempsey, 2329 South 14th Avenue in Broadview. 2 questions I have. One, today the website was down for the village today, and I just want to know why, as we're working on the website. Also, we did a proposal, we broke the ground. Is with that proposal for the village, with the partnership with Maywood, would that be also on the website for everybody to see of what the actual ordinance, I see it's the ordinance here, but what is it gonna actually say? Also, your Facebook, the Village Broadview has a Facebook. It has not been updated since 2013 on the website. I know we talk about crossing T's and transparency, but I would like to bring that to the attention of the board, that if, we're gonna put something here, would it also be on the Facebook page as well as whatever social media that we're using? And that's all.
Thank you. Ms. Cushman?
Margaret Cushman, 2422 South 16th. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I am pleased to announce that our Broadview Food Pantry, thanks to the Community Presbyterian Church and a great group of volunteers, it has expanded its business hours, and we're now going to open on Tuesday nights from 6 to 7:30. And we've also been allowed by the Chicago Food Depository to include Heinz residents in our distribution area. So we just found that out last week. And if anybody knows anyone that couldn't come during the day on Wednesday, we're going to start being open starting tomorrow, Tuesday evening. I also noticed the website was down because when I clicked on it, a great big picture came up of a aloe vera in a flower pot. And it said, WordPress, put your comment down. Last but not least, I would like to address the bond issuance as a resident. I'd like to caution all of the trustees out there to remember what happened the last time our village issued $11+ million worth of bonds. That's what was part of the trouble that got our village into, it's part of the reason our village got into trouble to begin with. We had out of control spending and out of control hiring. And if anyone should remember this, Trustee Turney should, because he was in charge of the fire department and they had all the layoffs. Because when we spend too much and we hire too much, we have to cut back. And then you end up with cuts and losing staff. So while I realize the importance of having the 9/11 Center, and I know we've committed to that, the initial cost was projected $3.5 million, plus whatever Maywood, I guess, is supposed to pay, although I don't see that in writing anywhere. that leaves $8 million for a rather vague list of equipment, vehicles, and certain professionals to service the community, provide services. So, to me, that sounds like runaway spending and hiring. I think if you think about basic finance, something everybody should be teaching their children from the time they're like 5 years old is, if you want to be able to pay your bills in the future, you have to learn how to separate the wants from the needs. And I think we need to learn to separate the wants from the needs. I know there's a need and that there is money that needs to be spent for upgrading and other things, but I think we ought to think long and hard about $12 million without any specifics. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Redmond?
Good evening, Mayor, trustees,
Good evening.
administrators, and visitors and residents. First of all, thank you for hosting the finance meeting. I did get a better understanding of what we're going to do with the $12 million, but I do have questions. So I'm hoping that that'll be answered before you vote on the new business item 8B. What's the rate? How many years will the length do we have to pay for this, the debt service, and how much would it be? What happens with Braga Drive? We have to, in 2 years, my understanding, that we need $2 million to come up with they're gonna do the truck drive and we're gonna get a grant. Do we have that $2 million? Will this impact it? What happens now, and I do appreciate Attorney Vasili? Okay, I apologize. And Paul Kirshner saying after talking to me a little bit more about, we do have an intergovernmental agreement with Maywood, but here's my question. Why can't we see it? And here's my other question would be, is that what happens if Maywood only pays partial of it? Do they have 2 years to give it to us before we hit the debt service? Or is it going to be, when we issue these bonds, we want the money up front? There's just quite a few questions I have, and I say that because I know all of us buy things, but I'm the type, I want to know what it is, the quality, how much it's going to cost, what I'm getting for my money. I want details, and that I'm missing some, even though I appreciate having a little bit more than I had the last time. Thank you.
Excuse me, please let the record reflect Trustee Brown Marino arrived at 7:43 p.m. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Thank you, Ms. Redmond. Mr. Clerk?
Next on the agenda, item 3, communications. The first communication we have is regarding tomorrow night's National Night Out. National Night Out happens every year and it happens all around. In Broadview, we're going to kick it off at 5:15 p.m. with the Unity Parade, leaving right here from the Broadview Fire Department at 5:15 p.m. We're going to make our route to Schroeder Park, and at that time, we're going to have fun, food, games, and movies. And we all are invited, and it's a wonderful time. If you've never been to National Night Out, you need to come check it out tomorrow. Again, that's August 7th, tomorrow at 5:15. We're going to kick the parade off here. Next, I want to read an announcement from our Congressman Danny Davis's office. On August 18th, Saturday, they're going to do a back-to-school picnic parade, World Health Day, and technology in the park. This flyer has got a ton of stuff on it. I'm going to make copies and make it available to any resident that would like it. I can send it via email, and eventually when we get our website back up and running, hopefully very soon, we'll post it on the website. But again, this is August 18th, Saturday, Danny Davis's Back to School Picnic Parade, World Health Day, and Technology in the Park. Next on the agenda, we have a presentation from Fowling Warehouse, representative from Fowling Warehouse.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thanks for having me tonight. My name's Kirby Clifton.
Can you speak up a little bit louder?
Yeah. Can you hear? Oh, this is not working.
No.
Yeah.
The mic is working, it's picking up, but the sound in the room is not because the speaker's
Okay,
off.
great. I'm Kirby Clifton. I'm a partner and owner in the Folding Warehouse. We're a company that owns currently 2 businesses in Michigan. Basically, it's a business where we have a game that my partner invented where you throw football and bowling pins. And we have this idea. We wanted to start a conversation with the city of Broadview as we've located a building, Mr. Perlow's building, which is an ideal space for our business. We want to bring it to Broadview, and we know that that would require some zoning and liquor license and those type of things. So kind of the idea today is to begin a dialogue with you to see what it would take and what the steps would be to obtain that kind of zoning and liquor license. I can tell you more about the business if you'd like. So we have one location in Detroit. Basically, we have 30 lanes of this bowling game that we play. We have a liquor license and a full bar. And then we have a second location in Grand Rapids, Michigan now that just opened. And we're now moving into franchising and opening other locations throughout the country. So this would be potentially the third location for our business.
Can you make sure that the clerk get the link where the trustees is able to see the link that was provided so that they see the concept?
Sure.
Because the concept is, it looked like a bowling alley, but it's throwing football at pins, and I think it's something that would be good for Broadview as it relates to entertainment. So when I first saw the video, it put me on the scale of a Dave & Buster's.
Correct, yep. Yeah, it's good. It's like a bowling alley, but there's a twist on it. Instead of
Right.
rolling the bowling ball, you're throwing a football. And it was invented by my partner and friend kind of randomly, and we thought it was a cool idea. And after many years of playing locally at bars and tailgates in Detroit, we eventually rented a building, an old warehouse, basically, in Detroit, in a part of town that honestly didn't have a lot going on. And so we feel like it's good for the area because now people come to our business. We get sometimes 500 people over the course of a weekend that come. We're family friendly. Before 7 o'clock, we have kids from 10 to 21 can come and play. Then after 7 o'clock, we switch to 21 and over. We also partner with local businesses. We don't have a kitchen. We don't plan to make food in the building. So what we do is we provide links or menus, and we even have a kiosk. We can walk up and order food from restaurants in our community, and then they deliver the food to the lane where the guys are playing. So it's an idea to help bolster the community restaurants in conjunction with our business. We also host a lot of corporate parties, so it's a good chance for fundraisers and or corporate team building events, so they can reserve a lane for a couple hours and come in after work and play. So that would be an opportunity for businesses in the community outside of Broadview that would come to the area to play, and then perhaps they would frequent the restaurants or stores in your city. So we think it's a good opportunity to bring other businesses to your area. So those are kind of the highlights that I had to talk about today.
Do you have any marketing material that you could pass out to the trustees?
I certainly
so that
can.
that-
I do.
Can
We
you
do,
just make
yeah.
sure that they have that? Trustee Ely, did you have any questions for him?
No.
Trustee Tierney?
No.
Trustee Jones?
I have nothing.
Trustee Horn?
What location did you have in mind?
The Perlow Steel Building.
It's the 25th.
And really, the idea is, and I think to split the building, he's not using the entire building, so we would take a portion of it. We'd put up a permanent wall in between our business and his business, separate it completely, and then we would run our operation out of half the building, basically. Yeah. And it's an ideal fit for us. It's got the right style of a warehouse look that we've had in the past.
Congratulations, it's something
Okay.
new.
Trustee Abraham?
Well, I think that's a great innovative idea to do that bowling with the football and making it an entertainment spot. And it's a great location. You said it's off the 25th and Cermak Road, so you got a lot of visibility. And it'd be nice that you'd be working with our area restaurants.
And like I say, I've been looking for a long time to find a building, so it's after about a year, we're pleased to have found a place that fits our needs, and hopefully it's good for the community.
And then so you guys won't have to deal with any food. You're strictly they're going to order. I've seen this done where they go and order at the kiosk and then it's brought in.
What we might do, we have done in Detroit is, in Grand Rapids, is we have food trucks that want to come, and we'll have an area outside where they can pull up, and then the guests can go outside,
Okay.
get the food and bring it in. And we just call it like food friendly and bring your own food, that kind of thing. So but we're not going to be, cooking it in our place, or we're not
Okay.
going to store anything. Yeah.
You're just strictly there to have the game going.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trustee Brown Marino?
A couple quick things. What was your name again?
My name's Kirby, last name's Clifton.
And I'm curious, as you're coming from Michigan to this area, do you plan to, hope to open more locations in the Chicagoland area?
We would love to. And it's
I mean, is
one
that-
of those things, we're kind of a destination. We feel we can pull people from a large area. And we only have one in Detroit, for instance. But Chicago being a larger market, we have it in mind that perhaps down the road, if this goes well, this could be our entry point, and there may be someday a second location. That'd be great for us. But honestly, we feel that we're a destination and we can pull from a large area.
It does sound like a really interesting concept, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Upshaw, you wanted to add?
We have some representatives here from Perlo Steel. For those of you who don't know about Perlo Steel, they've been in the community for a long time.
25 years.
They may want to say something.
Mark?
Kirby,
Thank you, Kirby.
can I have your contact information, your card?
Mayor Thompson, trustees, thank you for having us tonight. And I just wanted to say, we want to stay in Broadview. The whole building's not for lease. It's just a portion, and we're really excited to get Foley in our premises. I think it's going to be a great addition to the community. It's going to give the community a light that will bring people here. Like Kirby said, 500 people over a weekend that come from the area, Broadview, and the surrounding areas. They've already looked at the car counts on Cermak and on 25th Avenue, and it's the demographics of the area within 5 miles of here are very good for them. And we hope that you'll consider, the parameters that they need in order to operate. And we're willing to make the investment in the property to encourage them to come here. And we're going to make it a totally separate space from our space, because we're an industrial use, of course. I don't know if, a lot of people don't even know our building, even though it's big as it is, right there on 25th.
That big red letter.
Well, we try to make ourselves visible, because we've got a lot of trucks coming in that can't find us. And, they call us from out in front, want to know where we are. GPS. So we've been here for 25 years. We want to stay in Broadview. We haven't caused too many problems other than some false alarms. It's very nice to overlook it a couple of times. We've gotten all that taken care of. I don't think we've got any false alarms.
You showed up every time.
Yes, you certainly do. They certainly do. And they tell us when our gate's unlocked. So, I mean, we're very happy in Broadview, and we want to stay here. We've been successful here, and we want to continue to operate our business, and this will be a good addition. So if there's anybody has any questions of us,
No, thank you, Mark, and we value your partnership in the Village of Broadview for as long as you've been here, so we appreciate that, and we're looking forward to
Thank you.
working with you as you solidify this business deal.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk?
Next item on the agenda is a presentation, Visit Oak Park. Eric Wagner.
Doesn't work.
It
Good
works.
evening, Mayor Thompson and trustees. I'm Eric Wagner, President and CEO of Visit Oak Park, and I just want to take a quick minute. To introduce myself to you. We proudly represent Broadview as one of the 18 communities in our service area here in Western Cook County. Recently, I had the great pleasure of meeting your mayor. I just want to commend her for her vision and her leadership. Tourism is economic development. I've seen tourism transform communities, bring local jobs, and transform lives. I saw this recently over the past 4 years serving as Assistant Deputy Director at the Illinois Office of Tourism before I joined Visit Oak Park. I'm here to support you and your tourism. I'm here to help you grow your tourism, and I'm here to market and promote everything you have and offer here to tourists for them to bring their dollars to Broadview. I'm here to help you be Broadview strong. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your service.
Thank you, Eric. Trustee Ely?
Nothing.
Trustee
Thank you, Eric.
Tierney?
Nothing.
Trustee Jones?
Nothing.
Trustee Horn?
I'm happy to see that we're considering tourism, considering the revenue sources that come from tourism, so I think it's a step in the right direction, and I hope to be talking with you soon and be privy to some of the conversations that's taking place between you and the mayor.
Trustee Abraham?
Well, thank you for considering Broadview. So we're a great little town, so thank you.
Trustee Brown Moreno?
I'm curious, your organization seems to be called Visit Oak Park. How does that fit in with Broadview?
It's the uniqueness of the state funding formula for tourism. The state funds local tourism bureaus. In this case, we represent 18 communities here in Western Cook County. Oak Park has sort of paid for the naming rights as part of that, but that doesn't preclude me from representing the entire area. And in fact, one of the things I will be doing is looking at our name and making sure it incorporates area to help ensure that other communities are represented. And there's other things I will do to make sure Broadview and our other communities have the representation that they need and the name recognition they deserve.
And do you have, is there a website or Facebook page or something we can find online to learn more about this?
Yes, our website is visitoakpark.com. Don't go there right now, lol.
Okay.
I'm redoing everything. I'm completely
Okay.
rebuilding our organization from the bottom up. So we'll be having a new launch in October,
Okay.
and you will see Broadview very well represented along with all of our communities.
Okay,
And
thank
I'll
you.
keep you
Awesome.
posted.
Thank you.
Eric. Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, I received an anonymous call from a resident 2 weeks ago regarding board member attendance. And at that time, I had a discussion with the mayor, and I compiled an attendance list for the year 2018 for all board members, including myself, the mayor, and everyone you see seated here. This is now a public record. I provided the trustees and the board with a copy of it. Anyone can get a copy of this if you contact the clerk's office. I'll be happy to email it to you, or if you'd like to do it in the form of a FOIA, I can also provide it for you there as well. I just made this available to the trustees, so Mayor, if you don't mind, if any trustee has a comment about it.
Trustee Ely?
No, I'll keep my thoughts to myself, sir.
Trustee Tierney?
No, not at this time.
Trustee Jones?
I have no comment.
Trustee Horn?
Other than I'll just explain the reason I wasn't here, the last board meeting, my daughter's starting college. I went to her college orientation, so that's the reason I could not make it to the last board meeting. And the ones earlier in the year, the 16th and 19th, that was my husband's birthday, and he wanted me with him, so I had to not come. And so that was it.
Trustee Abraham?
Yeah, I guess, what am I, on the 21st? And unfortunately, I was involved in a car accident, so due to my condition, and I know I had said it at a previous board meeting that I was not able to attend, so just want to let everybody know that.
Trustee Brown Moreno?
Just that it's an interesting document, and it would be interesting to have seen prior years as well. That's all.
Okay. Next item on the agenda, item 4, consideration to approve the following minutes. Minutes from the July 16, 2018 regular board meeting.
I think some minutes attached. Were they attached?
Not to the, this was in the past.
It was in the separate attachment.
Okay. I can't speak to that, I wasn't here.
Is that one of your things?
Probably the past ones.
That was
Yeah.
the meeting.
I sent these out probably 3 days after the
No,
last meeting.
that was,
Everyone has them.
maybe this one's.
For the 16th.
Or
These ones, yeah, this is for July.
July
Need a motion?
July 16th. Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Tierney, seconded by trustee Abraham. Madam President?
Trustee Ely?
No comment, I wasn't there.
Trustee Tierney?
Nothing.
Trustee Jones?
No comment.
Trustee Horn?
No comments.
Trustee Abraham?
None.
Trustee Brown Marino?
Nothing.
Roll call. Trustee Ely.
Abstain.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Horn.
Abstain.
Trustee Abraham.
Here. Yes, sorry.
Trustee Brown Marino.
Abstain.
And Madam President, this carries 6-0, with the abstentions counting as a yes. Next item on the agenda. Minutes from the the July 23rd, 2018 special meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Tierney, seconded by Trustee Abraham. Madam President?
Trustee Ely?
No comments.
Trustee Tierney?
No comment.
Trustee Jones?
No comment.
Trustee Horn?
No comments.
Trustee Abraham?
None.
Trustee Brown Marino?
Nothing.
Roll call.
Yes.
Trustee Ely.
Yes.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Abstain.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Brown Marino.
Abstain.
And Madam President, this carries 6-0 with the 2 abstentions counting as yes. Now, next item on the agenda, item 5, consideration to approve expenditures, grand total of all funds, $1,730,344.80.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Abraham, seconded by Trustee Tierney. Madam President, open for discussion.
Trustee Abraham, would you like to read the warrant list for us, please?
Yes. Alfred G. Ronan, $4,000. AT&T, $4,420.07. B&F Construction Code Service, $4,577.49. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois, $159,578.39. Broadview Westchester Joint Water Agency, $386,771.16. Business card, $6,261.68. Commonwealth Edison, $4,016.25. Delgado Law Group, $31,872.50. FGM Architects was $102,973.95. Group, $11,410.40. Hector Perez, $4,925. JG Uniforms, $4,748.76. Lincoln National Life Insurance, $8,186.37. Lindhall Brothers was $631,217.94. Montana and Welch, $18,046.24. MQ Construction Company, $10,126.78. Orlando Lawn Service, $5,185. Osega Incorporated, $2,976. Adelson, Britz, Kelly, Cooper, Gilbert, and Donofo Ltd., $2,515.50. Our treasurer for the state of Illinois, $288,165.68. Verizon Wireless, $2,266.61. West Cook County Solid Waste Agency, $12,722.38. Our total expenditures over 2,500 was $1,688,964.15. Our total expenditures is $1,730,344.80. Our percentage of total is 98%.
Trustee Ely?
Well, my comment or concern is the same concern I've been voicing it, and that is that we still continue to spend way too much money. And with the bond issue being on the agenda for tonight, I'm afraid it's going to lull us into a false sense of security, and the spending will either increase or continue at the same level, and which does not bode well for our immediate future. That concludes my comments.
Thank you. Trustee Tierney?
No comment.
Trustee Jones?
Just that I'm looking at that By the way, we are basically done with the lawsuit with the strip club issue. They had lost on appeal with the only thing left in the case was to determine damages. That being said, there was a lot of issues as it related to legal fees for the last 9 years or so because we were fighting this lawsuit. It's driving our legal expenses up quite high. In front of us right now, we've got $50,000 for legal fees, and we're not fighting a lawsuit for 2 firms. And I've been asking for documentation, the supporting documentation, detailed supporting documentation on what these legal services are that we're spending this $50,000 on for this pay cycle and previous pay cycles, and I have not gotten that yet. So it's still a bone of contention for me. Now, I know that the mayor in her last meeting, in our last meeting, stated to make an appointment with her and come see it, but I don't feel that I should have to do that. I'm an elected official, I'm entitled to the information, I have a secure mailbox. I'd like the stuff to be put in my mailbox so I can read it at my leisure, especially since she's closed down the trustee conference room, so I don't have any place to really review this stuff without supervision. I shouldn't have to be supervised, I'm supposed to be the supervisor here. Secondly, we've got 2 landscapers that billed us $10,000 in this pay cycle. I don't know how much grass we got out there or what they did landscaping, it cost us $10,000. But that's an exorbitant amount for 2 landscapers to have spent. Now, you know, and because I don't have any place to review these documents, I haven't seen this stuff and nothing's been put in my mailbox. So I can't support the payments. As relates to what Trustee Edie had to say about the spending, a lot of this stuff is, John, it's stuff that's already contracted, some things that we normally pay anyway. The treasurer, the phone company, the solid waste, and for our water, certainly for our insurance and all this stuff. Some of your big ticket items here are directly related to things that we normally would pay anyway. The last thing that I had an issue with is B&F Construction Code Service. They're doing inspections. We have an on-staff inspector that we should be paying. And this is the type of expenditures that I inherited some years ago, where we were paying somebody to do work that we had somebody on staff already able to do. So if we got an inspector on staff, he should be doing the inspections, not some contractor. But once again, I have not been able to take a look at these invoices in any type of detail. But those are my comments, those are my concerns, and I digress. That's the end of my comments.
Trustee Horn?
Well, we had a finance committee meeting where
That's
a lot of
great.
the questions could have been answered or addressed. I went to the finance committee meeting, a lot of the questions I had were answered. The finance director has made himself available. I've had questions for the attorneys, I've reached out to them, and they've met with me and gave me the information I was looking for. And as a result, I don't have any questions because I asked the questions and I got the answers that I needed. I do understand how people like to function and everybody has their way of how they want to work. This was the process that was put in place. I don't intend to debate it. I just followed the process and got the information I was needed so I could move on and go and be done with it. But I did meet with the people I needed to meet with and got the information that I needed to get.
She gave you your time to talk, right?
And that's it, thank you.
Trustee Abraham?
Well, regarding,
She gave you your time
What are
to
you
talk.
talking about?
In her voice.
What are you talking about?
She gave you
What are you
time to
talking
speak.
about?
Now you
But I
let her
wasn't
speak.
talking to you.
You're talking, I can't hear
I'm
her.
talking to myself.
I can't hear her.
Okay, trustees.
You know, they do have hearing aids.
That's hilarious.
I hear her fine.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's hilarious for you to have a conversation with me while she's talking.
She let you talk.
You
Let her
ain't the fire
talk.
chief no more, and I'm not a fireman.
Let her talk.
She's
let her
talking.
talk.
You're not doing the talking.
Order,
Don't interrupt
order.
her.
You interrupted me.
Trustees. Trustee Abraham?
yes, regarding the invoices, I know this is quite a bit, obviously, just because the way certain things have hit. Obviously, you know, the treasurer of the state of Illinois took a big chunk, as well as Lindenhall Brothers, who's doing the construction. As some of the other invoices I know that were brought up, obviously, you know, one of the things, and I spoke with Sandra, I hate to go too long, Madam Mayor, but she has made these invoices available, and I do send an email to every trustee as soon as she lets me know so that they can get in here and be able to look at the invoices. If there is an issue, and just talking with Sandra, we have no problem of contacting that vendor and making sure that they're giving us the proper documentation. And I can understand my fellow trustees' questions you know, with BNF Construction Code Service, but if you look at how they're listed, they're doing various different things. Now, I don't know that the person we have employed here can do all of that. You know, how many licenses does he hold to specifically look at electrical, water, plumbing? I don't know. I don't know if it's new construction stuff going on or if there's updates. So again, we would have to get with Commissioner Upshaw and look at BNF in particular, but I do know they had a lot of invoices, and there are a variety of them, and they do encompass quite a businesses, commercial, as well as our big industrial. So I'm not sure, again, what the qualification is of the employee that we have currently in that department. Regarding our two landscapers, they do provide pictures. I mean, I look at them. I mean, one has them run off, scans them. The other one has actual photos and breakdowns. So, you know, if they raise rates because gas went up or service of employees, you know, obviously we have to look at their contract. I mean, if we need more information, Madam Mayor, I have no problem taking down the notes and getting with the respective department heads and getting our contracts with people, and we can get a more detailed or a more picture on this. As well as the attorney stuff, again, everything was itemized per day, and I know they have various different things going on. So, I mean, I don't know how much more information we want on an invoice, but I think our vendors are being receptive, and I have no problem calling them in. And I've discussed it with Trustee Horn and Trustee Tierney. We'll bring them in. We'll bring these, you know, business owners in, and we'll have a discussion with them and have them go over their invoices. So, I mean, it's up to what the flavor of the board wants to do. So that's my opinion on that as a finance chair, so.
Thank you. Trustee Brown Marino?
I was going to keep it real short and sweet and just say that I agree with what Trustee Ely and Trustee Jones said, but I do have a question. When Trustee Abraham just said that the attorney invoices are itemized by day and what have you, does that mean that the complete invoices are in this package again? Because they haven't been, and as Trustee Jones said, at previous regular board meeting, we were told, Trustee Jones and I were told that we would be getting copies of the invoices, that they had concerns about letting certain employees see them back there. So as far as I was aware, we don't have access to that kind of a breakdown. But I also agree with Trustee Jones that the idea of having to make an appointment with the mayor in order to come and be supervised while I look at certain invoices is insulting and ludicrous.
Does that conclude your comment?
Yeah, that's all.
Okay. So let me chime in on a couple of the comments that the trustees made. First, Trustee Jones, we have bags of mail where he don't check his mailbox. So I don't know if us putting the invoices in his mailbox would be conducive, because we have bags of mail in my assistant's office that he still have not picked up. Secondly, as it relates to the building construction, BNF, we've had this discussion numerous times as it relates to the BNF and the services that they provide, and it's on the detailed information on the invoices. Also, it was stated that I've taken space away from the trustees to media and to have whatever discussion they want to have. Well, we had to do that because we restructured with the construction. So where the clerk office was, that's where they built our electricity for the new 911 consolidation in the municipal building. So that moved the clerk out of his office, and now he's in where the trustees would meet at to review bills or to have conversation. But they also have access to go over on the police side to use the roll call meeting place that the police department have. So they have access if they want the access. As it relates to the landscaping, if you go back historically with the landscapers that we have multiple landscapers on the team. Now we only have the two. So if you only have two landscapers on the team, then that means they're gonna pick up more work to do, so they're doing more than what the previous landscapers, so they picked up their duties as well. So there's probably some fluctuation in that. So what I'm gonna ask the finance team to do, the budget officer and our finance director, is to run a report, and I wanna see the report from 2014 up until now, what the cost was at this time of the year as it relates to the landscaping services. One thing that's for sure and for certain, we will continue to run a transparency government here in Broadview. And with that being said, everything that, as it relates to the expenses, is allocated in our budget. So we're spending according to the budget. bottom line. So, and the finance director or the budget officer will be able to talk on that level. So with that being said, Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, you can, Madam President. Trustee Ely.
Yes.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
No.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Brown Marino.
No.
Madam President, the bills will be paid 4-2.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda. Item 6, committee reports. First committee, street, sidewalks, and alleys. Trustee Horn.
Well, good evening, everyone. First, I want to address one of the questions, if I may, brought up related to the website and social media. As far as Broadview having a social media page, the current contract with the IT team, website developers, et cetera, does not include marketing or branding via the website, via Facebook for Broadview. So that's why it has not been updated or it has not been touched, because it would include a different skill set and it will be extra work, which means extra costs. So that wasn't included. As far as the website being down, it is unfortunate, but it is down. It's a common thing. It's not uncommon for some fluctuations in certain things to take place that cause a website to go down. It is being addressed. I don't have an ETA on it right now on when it's going to be back up and running, but I am keeping track of it so that we can mitigate the costs related to the expense that comes with paying that specific vendor. But it is down, and I was aware of it when it happened. I will say that we're still streaming, so if you want to actually see it online, you can still go to YouTube and search for Broadview, and you will be able to see the live stream of the board meeting taking place tonight. As it relates to street, sidewalks, and alleys, I received several phone calls, emails, et cetera, related to street repairs and patchwork. I've addressed those issues with the Public Works Department. Some of those issues were related to the building department. I engaged the building department. They did address it, issued the citations that were required, and the Public Works Department did take care of those issues when I spoke with them. But I do want to make you guys aware of a current process that is in place that we do need to take advantage of as far as getting your complaints or concerns or comments correctly logged. So contact the Public Works Department with any issues that you have, with any comments, with any questions, because they do take that information. It's logged on a form which is transferred to a database where all the information is stored. If you do not get a response within the time frame that you think is reasonable, contact the mayor's office. 48 hours is the time frame that they said is reasonable. You are to get a response back from somebody from Public Works letting you know your question or your comment has been, they received it, they read it, and they are to provide you with an ETA of when they're going to respond to it. If you do not get a response back from them, I'm going to ask that you contact the mayor's office, because she's keeping a separate log of any issues that are not being addressed in a timely fashion by Public Works, so we can have the information in front of us and know where the gaps are and why they're not addressing concerns in a timely manner. So first, contact Public Works, make sure it's documented. If you don't get a response back, contact the mayor's office. If you're still not getting the type of feedback that you expect to get, let me know, and then I'll jump in and see what I can do related to it. I will say this, some of the response times I do believe is a little slow when it comes to Public Works, but on the flip side of that, this is why we needed the money to get new equipment. So things are broken, and the manpower doesn't always exist that's needed in order to function day to day with the speed that you're looking for. So some of the skill set within the Public Works Department is not as up to par as we would need it to be. There are a lot of call-offs at times. Equipment doesn't work as it should be working all the time, and so as a result, when I call in the morning and I'm saying, why aren't you responding to the residents' request, the equipment is broken. I can't. Or I'm responding to this other issue, and this one is a priority of this issue, and I don't have the manpower to adjust. So those are the type of responses that I'm getting. Let's see. The next thing as it relates to, I will ask this. While I am open to every resident, I'm going to ask that, after 8, maybe 9, if it's an emergency, to just respect my time and not send me emails or call me at 4 and 3 o'clock in the morning when it comes to issues related to Public Works. I like being your trustee and everything, but I do have a day job and I have to be able to function in the morning time, and so sometimes getting emails and at that time of the night is it's not good for me. So I would just ask that you respect the time and just do it at a decent hour, and I will get back to you. One of the things I did talk with the mayor, with our IT team, and with Public Works. Right now, everything is done by paper. It's extremely archaic. So people actually have to write down information, etc. We don't have to have very sophisticated or expensive technology in order to make things more operationally efficient. So I put together a requirements document and some solutions in place that we can use, just basic technology that exists, like Microsoft SQL Server databases, so that we can get information, log it into the database, and make it available for you on the website, so that if you are logging a concern or a complaint, you can actively go to the website, click on the link, and see the status of your request and where it is during the day. So that's something that doesn't take a lot of time to build, but they needed somebody to provide them with the solution, and they didn't have it, so I did it. And so it's on paper right now, and I'm working with the mayor right now to ensure that it's within budget, just to get the software up to par where we need it to be. It's a simple Microsoft Access database. It probably will be a small cost affiliated with it, because what we're operating on right now is ancient, and you can't do it. So we're not asking for cloud-based technology or nothing like that. Like I said, it's a SQL Server database. You probably have it on your PC at home. You can just build some queries on top of it and make it available on the website, so that if you call Public Works and say, look, I got this in front of my house, I want it fixed, we have a unique identifier affiliated with it, put it on the website. So instead of bombarding the team with multiple phone calls and keeping them from actually working, you go on the website, find your tracking number, see this is my request, this is where it's at, and the status. And if you don't have the status that you like, that's when you start calling. So we're working on that, and I'll keep you posted on when we can go live with that. Next, as it relates to street projects, so it is near completion. I'm very pleased. I just want to go on record. We always have a lot of complaints, but there is a lot of good work going on. People are working really hard, and sometimes I empathize with them, because they're working hard on a regular basis, and a lot of times you don't get any good feedback. You're doing a good job. Thank you. I want to go on record saying that Hancock Engineering is always available. I do send a lot of information to them on a regular basis. I will go on record saying I probably do bombard them with a lot of emails and phone calls, just because I feel like we spend a lot of money with Hancock Engineering, and I just want to make sure everything is up to par. So I do contact them, but they always respond back with no questions asked and give me the information I'm looking for. So I am pleased to be working with them. They do effectively communicate. We are projecting a $40,000 surplus in the project budget right now for the street projects that's taking place, and that $40,000 surplus is I want it to be allocated to sidewalk repair and trip hazards within the village. So that's what I've talked with the mayor about. That's what I've been conversing with some of the trustees about, that surplus is to be added or to be used to mitigate some of the trip hazards on the sidewalks and some of the issues on the sidewalks, like unleveling in the streets and things like that. So you'll be hearing more about that coming up. The committee meeting that was supposed to take place on July 30th didn't take place because of a conflict with the finance committee meeting, and I thought it would be just too much in a short amount of time to ask everybody to come out twice. So I canceled the Public Works or the Street Sidewalks and Alleys Committee, and I'll be scheduling it for September. If you have any questions, any comments, just feel free to email me or contact me. Just do it before 9 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee.
Next item on the agenda, Finance Committee, Trustee Abraham.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Board, and residents. I have a few items, so I won't be that long. Number one, I attended our July Broadview Westchester Water Agency meeting. Currently, I do have proposed legislation which is being reviewed by the agency attorney, so that will be beneficial to both communities and to the agency. Number two, I have met with Sandra, who handles all our invoices and procedures, and certain things we like she contacts me, as I was starting to talk about one of the procedures was, she contacts me when the invoices are available for the trustees to see. As soon as I get that email, I do send each individual trustee an email that the invoices are ready for review. We also like notes that have to be taken if we're going to do anything as far as removing an invoice. We have to mark stuff down, because there is a process. We want to pay our invoices on a timely fashion to our vendors that are doing service and work in our community. So it was just basic housekeeping. I have spoken to some of our trustees regarding it with the invoices and what we want to do, and just to keep it going so we don't have to have a special board meeting for invoices, and then we have to reassemble a crew to be here. So we want to just keep sure that our invoices are getting paid in a timely fashion. Number 3, I did attend the Illinois Liquor and Gaming Licensing Seminar. The mayor went and a few other trustees were in attendance, and I'm sure they'll speak on it. But it was very informative as to what's going on in the state of Illinois regarding liquor licensing and gaming, because obviously gaming's the new thing. So how does both of them work within a community, and what other communities are doing across the state? So they were just going over various laws and new legislation. As Trustee Horn led on to in item number 4, I did hold a Finance Committee meeting on August 1st. I did it a little bit differently than the way we do at a board meeting where our parties talk to the board or to the committee. I did it as a panel discussion, which allows us to ask more questions, but you get to see the panel of experts. I can't answer everything, just like the mayor can't answer everything, but we do have people in place, and I like to call them the experts because they know what they're going to talk about, and they have the answers to our questions. And I was joined by Trustee Horn, obviously was on my committee. Trustee Tierney's on the committee, but he was out of town. We had our finance director, Hicks, here. We had our budget officer and treasurer, Tom Hood, here. We also had Paul Kurtzner from the police department, so he could speak on the 911 center. And then we also had attorney Vaselli here for any legal things. So again, a panel discussion for the finance committee is something that we're going to continue to do, because again, we're able to provide more information, answer questions in a little bit more detail, but you also have experts that are going to be answering. It's not going to be a trustee answering them. So, and I like it like that. So it works. Number 5, my other item is, and this is a compliment, obviously the smoke detectors. This is for the fire department. I ran into a resident while I was shopping over at Dollar Tree, and she wanted to thank me because one, which especially want to thank you guys. One, I kept announcing about the smoke detectors, how I took advantage of a grant that you guys secured, which was a great investment in our community. And because, I only had one that wasn't working, and I was able to get 4 based on the, my 2-story home and multiple bedrooms, she decided to call, and she wanted to thank Inspector Monks. She said he did a very nice job. And same thing, she also was required to have 4 smoke detectors. So, to the residents out there, I think this is important. If you have young children, seniors, somebody that's, can't move around as fast, it is definitely something that our small little village was able to attain this grant. And the chief said the last time it's ongoing. So as he disperses these smoke detectors, and again, there's no cost to us. I mean, the grant is there, and he's gonna base it on our needs in our home. So please, take advantage. She said she called up, she made the appointment, and he was there, and he spent the time, and he went through and he put them all in. So again, residents, that's something we're offering. Also, item number 6, and I'm not sure, Madam Mayor, if you want this done. I know some questions again came up regarding the 911 and the bond, and Director Hicks is here, and I don't know how far you want this to go. If you want to address it, or if you want the finance director.
We have the bond team here to address it as well, so when we get to the ordinance, they'll be able to address
Okay,
it.
so so Mr. Hicks can wait if you need him. Okay, I just want to make sure that.
Thank you.
Okay, and that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Trustee Ely?
I have no report.
Trustee Tierney?
Yes, I've got the fire and police and civil service, although we don't have civil service. I did meet with the police and fire commissioners for their meeting that they had. That was on this past couple weeks ago. They discussed what's going on with the current testing of the lieutenant. The finalized list of that just came out, and also the testing for the recruits for the police department. I also attended the Fire and Police Commissioner of the Proviso Municipal League. I went to that dinner with David Orr, was the speaker, and he spoke about the elections coming up, some of the issues and problems that might occur, and they're looking at trying to straighten them out. So it was pretty interesting listening to him. I also attended the liquor licensing and regulations with the other trustees. What else? Oh, I was in Urbana Fire Department, working there with them last week, and one of the instructors for the Illinois Fire Service Institute after he found out I was with Broadview, came up to me and was just glowing with what, the remarks he had for your Explorers. You know, they're well-known down there now, and everybody knows about them and hears about them. They made everybody else look bad. That's what he said. So keep up the good work, pass that along to Chief Kenny. That's all I have.
Next item on the agenda, Water, Drainage, and Health Committee. The chair is currently vacant. Madam President, anyone from the committee have anything to add for Water, Drainage, and Health? All right, next item on the agenda, Building and Public Property. That chair is also vacant at the time. Madam President, if any other committee member from that committee would like to speak on that?
I would, yeah.
Yes, sir.
I've talked to Kevin Ugling, Paul Kurtzner, and we're gonna get hold of Riley Construction and let them do an update every board meeting of how the 911 center and the department head meeting. And they'll be able to speak and ask questions.
Excellent.
Can I say something?
Yes.
So as it relates to water, drainage, and health, I just want to go on record telling everybody that I sent several messages to the chair and to the person that formerly sat as the chair. I sent messages in an effort to try to, I didn't understand let me just say it the way I'm thinking it. I'm trying to be all, talk a certain way. I sent the text messages and emails asking what is the issue and how come we simply just can't meet even if we disagree. Okay? I did that and I got no response.
You don't have a chair.
And I don't understand why. And so I made an effort to communicate to see if we can squash whatever the disagreement was and still function together to achieve a common objective, and I was unsuccessful in doing so. That's it.
Madam President, we're gonna spend the rest of the night signifying on each other.
Are you talking about me? See, let me be.
Trustee Tierney, you wanted to?
Yeah, I have one more item I forgot to bring up. We're gonna have a Fire and Police Committee meeting on the 15th of August. It'll be at 6:30. We'll have an agenda posted prior to the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Clerk?
Comment when they got something to say, but
Thank you,
won't work.
Trustee. Thank you, Madam President. Next item on the agenda, item 7, old business. Item A, a presentation of bids and possible motion to award a bid for purchase of village-owned property located at 2126 South 17th Avenue in the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois, pursuant to 65 ILCS 5/11-74.4-4. That's it.
Need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Horn, seconded by Trustee Tierney. Madam President, it's open for discussion.
Trustee Ely?
Well, the question I had is that this particular property, that was, I believe it was, they had a TIF agreement, providing, where the village was gonna provide them X number of dollars and charge them X number of rents. And to the best of my knowledge, that agreement has not expired, and I'm wondering how that agreement and those terms would figure into, an attempt to sell the property now.
I'm glad you asked because what you just said is not true. So I have Matt to talk about the agreement and but that's not true. Dave?
Yeah, Trustee, there isn't, there was never actually an agreement entered into. There was an agreement drafted up, but it was never actually executed or approved by the village.
Exactly.
So that's where we're at now. So we took it out to bid a few weeks ago, and we got a few different results. We had 2 results, and I think David can speak to a little bit more and just to apprise the board of which, or what the bids were, what the terms are, and make a recommendation based on those bids.
Well, Dave, you might know when this agreement was originally entered into between the barbecue guy and the village. You're aware of that, correct?
I'm not aware of when it was entered into, but there were discussions in 2015.
Well, the the reason why I question it is because I wasn't on the board when the agreement was entered into. But in the time period since, we've paid that guy pursuant to the terms of the agreement, and you're saying it was never formally signed? Why did we pay him then?
I don't know whether it was signed or not. That's the board's decision. All I can
Well,
say
that's pretty
is
much
that
what he just said, that it wasn't.
all I can say is that there was work done on village-owned property,
Yes.
and they did some repairs, and they were paid for those repairs. As it relates to the agreement, I have no knowledge of that. So if you have a copy or somebody has a copy, other than the blank copy that I have, then
So just let me chime in on the agreement. The former village attorneys for Narrow Law, when I reached out to them to get the information, it was no signed agreement, nothing was passed in an ordinance or resolution as it relates to this property. So now it come up for us to start selling village-owned property. I think work had been done to get it up to building code and to be in compliance.
Yeah,
But-
by him, right.
Who is him? I don't know. who's him.
The original, the barbecue guy, what's his name?
Okay, I don't know that part of
Yeah,
the story,
okay.
but what I do know is that we did not enter into an agreement. The board did not solidify an ordinance or resolution as it relates to this particular property. That's why we're here now to move forward to make it right and to get a business that can be operative and functional and generate sales revenue.
Oh, well, I'm
But
all
that-
in favor of that.
but
It's
that
just
don't
I had
exist.
questions as to whether or not we can legally do this. If he's got a TIF agreement, but he's saying that there is no agreement.
It's not.
Yeah, okay.
It's not.
Yeah, trustee, my understanding is that the agreement was never entered into, and the TIF Act requires the board pass an ordinance for that property to be conveyed. So even if the agreement had been signed, if it hadn't been passed by the board, there would be no agreement. So I think that we're acting appropriately tonight, and this is the first step in that process.
Right. Trustee Tierney?
So once this building is, there's nothing the village owes on this building at all? We don't leave money on it? We're not paying anybody any additional funds?
not that I'm aware of at this time.
That's all I got.
Trustee Horn?
No questions, thank you.
Trustee Abraham?
Yeah, so currently this property's vacant, correct?
Yes, trustee.
Okay, so it's vacant, because I know trustee Lee was alluding to some sort of agreement, and he made a comment regarding TIF dollars available. What is the current status of the TIF in that area? Is there TIF dollars available for this property that he's alluding to?
Well, I mean, it's in a TIF district, so
Right.
in theory there could be, but like where we're at right now is there have just been a couple of bids on it, and then in order for TIF dollars to be awarded, that it'd be subject to the village entering into an agreement.
Right.
And so, like, again, this is the first step in the process, kind of presentation of the bids. If the board so chooses, they'll kind of we'll select the bid to kind of to pursue, and we look to enter into an agreement with the bid kind of being a rough outline of the parameters of what that contract would ultimately look like, and it would come back before the board before any other action was taken.
Would we have to do, I know the mayor, you said something, there was additional work we had to do to bring it up to code. Is there any more investment on our side that we have to bring it up to code, or we're selling this property as is?
The sale, I think the thought would be to sell it as is, yes.
As is, so we're definitely then taken out of the equation as far as spending any more money on it?
Yes, that would
And then it'll
no-
be all on whoever these, would we receive 2 bids, I believe, wasn't it? Two
Yes.
people were looking at it, so then we're out of the equation, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I think the, what do you call it, our village doesn't need to be in land management or owning a business. I think we're here to manage taxpayer dollars.
Hard enough.
And exactly, trustee Horn, it's hard enough. All right, so we do have 2 legitimate bids, obviously, and we'll be off, this will be off our little backs after this, right? Correct?
Yeah, well, it'll come back before the board to approve the contract, assuming that a contract's entered into with the 2 bidders. But yes, once the board approves the sale, then that'll be it.
And nobody's gonna come back to us and say, we gotta fix something, right?
As is.
Okay, I just wanna make sure, you know, there's always something happens.
This is just to
It-
approve the sale, trustee. The
Yeah.
contract could be whatever the terms are that we negotiate the terms on.
Okay.
We haven't gotten that far.
Right, terms have to be negotiated, but my recommendation to the board is that the property be sold as is.
Right.
So we can get it back on the tax rolls and possibly sales tax, which is part of the overall comprehensive plan of the Roosevelt Road corridor, as well as 17th, as we move forward in the development of
Right.
those two areas.
And it's what, is it one-story building anyway?
It's a one-story building that's been gutted out with vacant land in the back for parking.
For parking, okay. I'm good.
Okay, trustee Brown Marino?
I don't recall seeing these bids, and I was just going through the prior emails. July 2nd appears to be the first time this came on the agenda, and all we received about the agenda item then was a single sheet of paper with a small paragraph just saying, reiterating what the title of the item was. Then July 16th, we got a very long appraisal, and I'm looking through here. I don't recall ever seeing the bids, and we certainly didn't get it with the material that we got for this meeting.
So, Matt, can you talk about how we did when we did the bidding process? Because that was part of the package.
Yeah, I mean, the TIF Act lays out a procedure and, of steps you need to take. So we published notice that we were intending to sell the property and gave them an opportunity to, submit offers by a certain date. And two of those came in, and that is kind of where we're at. And David's going to make a recommendation based on those two tonight.
No, I understand the process. What I'm saying is, I don't recall ever receiving any information about what the bids were that we're supposed to be voting on this evening.
This is to approve the sale for us to sell it, not to award a contract.
Well, what it says here is presentation of bids and possible motion to award a bid. So that's why, maybe I'm not sure about what it is that we are supposed to be voting on.
Sure. So tonight is, again, the step process is in the service attorney is also and I would wish that as well. And tonight is just, as it says on the presentation of the bids and possible motion to award a bid.
Right.
That would be step one. Step two, and that's to ensure satisfaction of the tax increment financing act of the state of Illinois. Step two would be the negotiation of a contract, entering into that contract, and then authorizing closing of the contract based on that. So what council did, in accordance with the TIF Act, was solicit for bids. Bids came back. We're opening up the bids tonight. We'll see where the bids are at. And then the board votes if they accept the bid or not. The second part would be the entering into a contract. That takes us to the consummation of the contract and the disposition of the real estate. Does that help with an explanation?
So as of right now, the bids have not been opened.
I think, I don't know if they have been open or not. Are they open? Yes. Commissioner, well, can you read out the bid results, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
what I
that's
wanted
what
to
it
do.
says right there.
That's what it is.
Oh, that's
Right.
what you was.
What,
Right, what are the
Right,
bids?
what's the
you
amount?
know?
Yeah, I did
We're looking at
open
the dollars.
presentation, so each the commissioner could you present the bids.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the bids have been opened because there was a deadline prior to tonight's meeting. In the last two board meetings, it was tabled because I was waiting for some additional information. As it relates to, as Matt said, talked about the process, we put an ad in the Tribune. It's also actually still posted out there in the Village Hall on the clerk's window. That being said, we had quite a few, just like 2100 Roosevelt, quite a few inquiries, and everybody's going to bid on it, but when it comes down to it, we received two bids within the time frame. The first bid that we received was from Proviso Habitat for Humanity. Okay.
Read it all.
Well, I just want to, Proviso Habitat for Humanity, they offered $30,000 cash for the property, and the property address, just so everyone is aware, is 2126 South 17th. 2126 South 17th. The second bid was from Private Capital Equity Trust, number 837-218. And that bid was for $35,000 in cash, and it also made a reference to 10 TIF incentives.
I made a reference to what?
TIF incentives.
But that wasn't part of it.
Based on the two submissions that we received, it's my recommendation that the property be sold to the Private Capital Equity Trust, number 837-208, for $35,000 as is, with considerations. I don't necessarily agree with the TIF considerations, but I'm not the board. I think the property should be sold for cash as is, and that's it. I will make copies, and I'll make sure that I give them to the clerk, and he can make sure that the trustees as well as the mayor have the information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's that, a blind trust?
Private trust, private equal?
No, it's
Yeah, it looks like it, trustee, yeah. Private Capital Equity Trust, 837-2018, yeah, so we, that's all the information we have for proposed buyer.
Thank you.
We've answered questions.
Yeah, Trustee Ely?
Done.
Trustee Tierney?
TIF incentives, what does that mean? Are they looking to get something from?
Yeah, they're looking to get some type of funding from the village. So at this, for me, as it relates to this property, it's $35,000, and this is supposed to be a private capital equity trust. My recommendation to the board is that we would select this company, but again, they have a small window, and it's all cash offer, and I would recommend that they receive no TIF funds, that they buy the property as is and develop it. That's it.
Trustee Horn?
I don't have anything. I think I agree with your recommendation, as is.
Trustee Abraham?
Yeah, we're going with, as is with the no TIF incentives at 35,000. Was that the number we heard from the Director Upshaw? I'm fine with that.
Trustee Brown Marino?
Couple questions. First of all, if they're offering us $35,000 with TIF incentives, though, if we go back and say we accept your bid, but you're not going to get any TIF incentives, would they have an opportunity to say then we're not interested in the property?
Yes, trustee.
Okay. Do we have any indication in their bid what level or any kind of a general figure of what they're looking for with TIF incentives?
The reason why my recommendation was to not provide them with any TIF incentives, because they're asking for $125,000. So if you guys, and the mayor and I have already had this conversation, so if you're going to do this for them, I will buy this for $35,001, and you give me the $125,000.
Right.
Dave, why would you not share that with us? So why would you not start with that?
And
Because that wasn't the question. She asked the question, and now she has the answer. Now everybody else has the answer.
And Mr. Upshaw, did the second one, the one that wants 125,000, private capital equity, did they give any indication what they plan to do with the building?
Well, the only thing that they said is they were interested in possibly turning it into a retail space or a restaurant.
Okay.
And my assumption is that they have a relationship with, well, let me say this. I believe that there's a relationship with the barbecue joint.
Okay. And Mr. Attorney, my understanding, we have an appraisal for
I think it's
41,000.
50,000 or 41.
41,000.
Right.
Right.
And I got an appraisal because I thought it, again, I don't necessarily always believe in appraisals, but it's a guide. It should be used as a guide, but it's not an exact science because a property is only worth what someone will pay for it. I thought it was 50. That's why I ordered an appraisal, because the numbers were all over the place, and I wasn't really sure because I really didn't have any comps of such a small property, commercial property, to even figure it out. I mean, you had houses. So that being said, that's why I ordered the appraisal.
And I was in that building when we were still talking with Mr. Holland about the bills that he was submitting. It's basically just a very, very basic empty shell. I mean, little more than just the exterior walls.
The The roof has been repaired.
Right.
The actual structure itself, as I stated initially, has been gutted out. So whoever gets the property, drywall and whatever use you're going to use it for.
Now, my question, though, is to the attorney, and this may not apply to TIF. I haven't read through this in a while, but I thought that we were obligated as a municipality to only go within 80% of the appraised value.
I'll defer to special counsel, just to correct me if I'm
Okay.
wrong, but there are different vehicles under the state statute. We are not a home rule municipality, so
Mhm.
let's take that out.
Exactly.
There are different vehicles in the state statutes that allow us to dispose of real property. One of which is the deed and surplus and sell it for not to exceed, 79.99, 80%, as you said. And another one is through the TIF Act. Through the TIF Act, and the specific plan that's set forth in the TIF Act, is that we make a determination what the best offer is for the village. And this is not specifically the example, but that's what you'll see on the TIF deals, people donating their property for just to make a point. I'm not advocating we do that, but I'm saying that it is part of the overall development package as determined the best interest of the municipality. And Commissioner Upshaw is right, it's somewhat applicable. The property is worth what someone is willing to pay for, as they say. So, I will also be the council, but the vehicle the village would be using to dispose of this property is through the TIF Act, not through the surplus property in the pure municipal code, or in that section of municipal code, more put. And there is no 80% requirement under that.
Yes, trustee, the village attorney is exactly right. And so the TIF Act gives in giving the village the wider amount of discretion in which to make the sale, it puts protectives in it, such as the requirement for publication and why we're here tonight, like an actual presentation of the bids, so there aren't any sweetheart deals or anything like that. So it's the TIF Redevelopment Act it's a tool to allow villages to address areas and to redevelop certain parts of the town according to a plan. And so in doing that, maybe taking a lower offer that the village may deem will be better for the overall community, at the expense of that 80% requirement.
Okay. And finally, when I'm thinking in terms of the two different proposals, for a number of reasons, including the idea of the ask for the TIF assistance, whether it's 125 or 50 or whatever the definitive number would be, but also when we're talking about a restaurant in that area, the parking that's available, the congestion in that area, I'm wondering, Mr. Upshaw, why you feel that the private equity is the better bid that we should be accepting.
Because Proviso Habitat for Humanity is a nonprofit, so we're just selling them the building and we're getting nothing in return. It's a 501c3, I believe, so it's a nonprofit. So if you're going to sell it to them, okay, you've sold it to them, and hopefully they'll have the resources to upgrade the property for office space and things of that nature.
Okay.
Let me
Thank you.
let me answer-
And I would imagine the property tax revenue in light of
Yeah,
that.
so the concept is when you doing development, and since we doing the Roosevelt corridor and 17th tie into the Roosevelt corridor, we want to draw businesses where people want to come. So a lot of what I've been hearing the residents say, we want more places to eat or something that's going to be attractive. And then right across the street, you got the senior housing development. So when you're looking at development and we're talking about the bills and how we generate revenue, you generate revenue through sales tax and property tax. This business will allow that to take place versus a nonprofit.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, Madam President.
Well, hold on. Trustee Ely?
No, I'm done. Thank
Okay,
you.
Trustee Ely?
Someone mentioned with the bidding process, we're required to seek the highest responsible bidder. That is the word, correct?
No.
Are you saying with the TIF laws that irresponsible is out the window?
I didn't say that, but I didn't say that at all, actually. Actually, you tried to quote the TIF Act to me, and I'm trying to correct it. The TIF Act does not, it puts forth specific parameters of what needs to be done. The word responsible, I do not believe is in the text of the act. Maybe special counsel council knows better than I do. I don't believe the word responsible is in there. The implication that means an irresponsible bidder would come in, that is not there. And it's also a check that a valid point was made by Trustee Brown Ray. There's a second step to this. If the person can't form the contract, we will vet them to be able to get through this process during the contract portion of it. They will know that they need to review title and whatnot and other stuff. So, yes, standard bidding language oftentimes refers to the lowest responsible bidder or whatnot. This is a specific grant under a specific statute unique to this specific circumstance to allow for TIF development in the state of Ohio. Is that up?
It does. Well, first and foremost, I consider asking to buy the building for $35,000 and asking for $100,000 in TIF assistance to be irresponsible. But the let me ask this: if we refuse their demands or requests for TIF assistance, they do have the opportunity to withdraw their offer. Would Habitat for Humanity get the building by default? Or the bidding process would start over again?
Yeah, I mean, just because you go out to bid and someone gives a bid doesn't mean that the board would be obligated to take it. You can reject both of the bids and we can publish again right now if we want to. So no, Habitat Humanity would not get it by default. It would, we could come back before the board and we could then enter into negotiations with Habitat for Humanity at that point, or we could publish again.
Okay, I'm done. John?
I'm done.
Trustee Jones?
I came in on the tail end of this. Sorry, I had to step out for a minute. A couple of things. I heard some of what you guys were talking about from out in the hallway, but I'll give you guys just a perfect example, a few examples of some TIF things that have been done in Broadview that I'm aware of. The Dunkin' Donuts. The purchase and the build out of the Dunkin' Donuts was given with TIF assistance. The Walgreens on 17th and Roosevelt was given to them for $1 because it was the best business for the fit in Broadview based on our village plan and what we've been trying to do. The Corner Spot Cafe purchased their property with a TIF assistance from the village. The guy that bought the Marquee Restaurant bought the Marquee Restaurant with TIF assistance. All the stuff was combined at the time of the actual purchase of these properties because without the TIF assistance, they weren't going to be able to make the numbers crunch financially. With that being said, we now have the Corner Spot Cafe, which is up and running viable restaurant. The Dunkin' Donuts, which is probably the busiest Dunkin' Donuts in the area. They keep a line over there. Walgreens is obviously doing pretty good because they got a Walgreens less than a mile away from them, right down the street. The new Broadview restaurant looks great. I don't know how the business is, but I'm sure they're doing pretty well, and they got video gaming in there as well. As it relates to Trustee Marino's issue about the parking, that is a area where the mayor has got some development going on right now with the corner of 17th and Roosevelt in conjunction with the alley in the village lot, almost right next door to the property, if I'm not mistaken. So that parking lot is actually going to be redeveloped to increase the parking footprint over there in the area. And it also has on-street parking on both sides of the street on 17th in that particular block. So you can park directly in front of this location. The post office is there, and there's a lot of foot traffic in the area. And what people have been asking for in the village of Broadview, to my understanding, is places where they can go to eat so they don't have to drive into Oak Park or into Oak Brook to go and get a meal or whatever the case may be. So that's why we've come up with a couple of the restaurants that we've come up with. And finally, as it relates to the long-term vision for the village of Broadview and to the long-term growth of the village, we got a bond in front of us today, right now, that we're going to be considering. Why? Because we don't generate enough revenue, obviously, to do some of the things that we want to do. So if we have control of a property and we're going to sell it, it doesn't make any sense for us to sell it to somebody where we're not going to gain any property tax off of and an alternative revenue in sales tax. By selling it to somebody that's going to generate a retail product and going to generate sales tax, we get dual revenue off the property. So whatever we lose on the front end, we're going to gain 10 times over, 100 times over on the back end. It just makes sense. You know, and I don't care what restaurant it is or what kind of entity it is that's in there. If they're going to be selling anything and it's going to generate any kind of sales tax and you're going to get property tax off it, we have gotten zero property tax off of this property for at least 12 years that I'm aware of. It's been sitting there empty. Well, Habitat for Humanity had it, but they weren't owners of the property. They weren't paying any taxes. They just were in there, one day a week for a few hours that particular day. So it just makes sense to sell the property, get out from under it. To the mayor's point a while back, we're not landlords, we're not trying to be in the landlord business, that's not what we're trying to do. And in the meantime, if we can develop it and use the TIF, which is there for the purpose of development. So if somebody comes in and asks for a couple of dollars and we can afford to give them a couple of dollars, you know, that's up to the board to decide what that assistance is going to be, and let whatever business that is come in and make their argument to get assistance. But it just makes sense to put some type of a retail opportunity over there, whether it's a restaurant or other type of retail. But that's my 2 cents, so I guess you guys kind of know where I stand on this, you know, as it relates to what would go in there. Madam President, I digress.
Thank you. Trustee Horn?
I don't have anything else to add, thank you.
Trustee Abraham? Trustee Brown Marino?
Couple things. First of all, the Walgreens was given to the developer for $240.
Well, $240.
Yeah.
Well, when I said a dollar,
Yeah.
it was figuratively speaking,
Right.
$240,
Close
a dollar, you know, yeah.
As I recall, when we were working with Mr. Holland before, he was looking for $80,000 in TIF assistance. And now he's asking for $125,000. It strikes me that the TIF assistance is actually kind of covering the cost of the building. Yeah, I mean, the increase. That's one of my impressions with this. The other thing is, when it comes to the Are You Daddy Ribs, this is something that has been talked about and that Mr. Holland has wanted to do for, what, 3.5, 4 years?
3 or 4 years, yeah.
I'm concerned about actually having another property that's just sitting there vacant and we're waiting. Although it sounds like he's looking for 100% of his cost, you know, on the whole thing. Personally, I would like to see us put it back out and see if we can get other bids. I mean, that's how I feel about it.
Does that conclude your comment, Trustee?
One other thing. When we're talking about whatever kind of use, and I'm not pushing for Habitat for Humanity, frankly, as I'm hearing this, I hadn't really thought about the 501c3, and I appreciate you clarifying that, Mr. Upshaw. But the idea of a restaurant there, yes, we are going to be redoing the parking, but there is a restaurant, as I understand, at least one restaurant, going in the new development right on the corner there. So we're talking about an area that's going to be, hopefully, if the business goes well, is going to be very congested there. I do think that it would be good to have a commercial owner of some sort, whether it's an office or whatever, where we are generating at the very least property tax revenue. But that's why I'm saying, once again, personally, I would prefer that we put it out for bid again.
Does that conclude your comment?
That does.
So let me just say, as it relates to when you look at economic development, you look at things that's going to be good and generate sales revenue for the village at large. So if you have 2 restaurants, they're not the same type of food. So that's a good problem to have. As I work with Commissioner Upshaw and we talk to different developers that can help us develop the Roosevelt corridor, what I did is I took the liberty to drive through the communities like Oak Park to see the vision on how they do their Lake Street. And it's multiple restaurants that's on Lake Street. It's not the same type of food. And even when you go down to LaGrange and you go down LaGrange Road, it's different types of restaurants that's there that generate people, because people should have options on what they want and what they choose to eat. As it relates to parking, we have a solution for that. We went into a private partnership with the business owner that's on the corner of 17th and Roosevelt. So we have access to a parking area. The restaurant or the retail space that's up for discussion will actually have parking in the back or curbside parking. So the concerns that you have are not really, not concerns that we should really, be concerned about, because even when you go down Harlem Avenue and you look at Johnny's sandwiches. The line is around the corner. Literally, they have signs in the community, in the residential area, saying you can't park during this time because there's no parking for the residents. So, and they have a variety of food that's in that little bit of strip of parking, and they don't have parking. So that's a good problem to have when the food is good, the service is good, and we're generating sales revenue for the village at large, and how we look at the vision moving forward. So, it's a good problem to have. It sounds like it could be chaotic, but it's a good problem to have if we can maintain the traffic control and do the right thing as we look at parking and the solutions for that. And as we've been talking about parking meters and that type of discussion, all of that will play in as we go forward, but all of those things come with a cost.
That was going to be my comment, Mayor. I would love to stand before the residents and the board and say, we've got a parking problem. That means business is great. That means people, it's loaded.
Yeah.
But at this time, we're moving in the right direction,
Take time.
so it takes time.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, you can, Madam President. Trustee Ely.
No.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Hold on, what is the motion?
Motion, presentation of bids and possible motion to award a bid for purchase of village-owned
Which one are we
property.
accepting, Dave? I remember I just came back to you.
Oh, okay. Well, I just made the recommendation.
The recommendation was
Okay,
what?
you had two bids. The first one was for private
Just tell me which one's got the dual revenue.
private capital equity
That's
trust.
the one I want. Is that a yes?
Can you give the name of the commissioner?
Yes. Private Capital Equity Trust number 837-2018.
Aye.
So,
Thank you,
point of
Trustee
order,
Jones.
Point of order.
Trustee
Should
Horn.
we amend the motion to be more specific about what
Can
it
you
is
read
that
the
we're voting
motion?
on?
Yeah, if the
Mr.
clerk
Clerk,
would read the motion.
yeah, Mr. Clerk, read the motion.
I will reread the motion now. Item A, old business, presentation of bids and possible motion to award a bid for purchase of village-owned property located at 2126 South 17th Avenue in the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois, pursuant to 65 ILCS 5/11-74.4-4.
Sounds like we need a motion to accept the bid.
Right. Did-
Mr. Parliamentary, if I may, Madam Chair?
Yes, please.
So the motion would be to accept the bid as proposed by, can you give me the name one more time?
Private Capital Equity Trust number 837-2018.
Motion.
That would be the motion, that would be, I believe, and I defer to the parliamentarian, but the preferred form of the motion.
So the original motion was made by Trustee Horn and seconded by Trustee Tierney. Can we re-motion and second and redo the bid? Trustee Horn, would you like to remake that motion?
I would like to make a motion to approve what?
Private equity trust.
Private Capital Equity Trust.
Read that number for me one more time, Commissioner.
I would like to make a motion to approve Private Capital Equity Trust number 837-2018 and its offering of $35,000 in cash. It requests TIP assistance in the amount of $125,000. Should I continue?
Maybe y'all leave the tip assistance out.
For the contract.
Yes, I think trustee Horn and Madam Chair, if I may?
Yep.
Trustee Horn, you're withdrawing your prior motion, correct?
Yes, I am.
And Madam Chair, I assume no members of the body have any objection to her withdrawing her prior motion, is that?
No.
Do anybody have any problems?
So the motion would be to accept the bid at the recommendation of the commissioner
Okay.
by, I am so sorry.
I would like to make a motion to accept the bid.
Just not ask for the name.
Yes, I would like to make a motion to accept the bid as presented by David Upshaw, our building commissioner for Private Capital Equity Trust, number 837-2018,
In the amount of,
in the amount of $35,000 in cash.
okay, and no more.
And I will second it.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Horn and seconded by Trustee, Madam President. Would you
Can I-
like a roll call now?
Can I just get a clarification before I'm asked to vote? So at this stage, we're not approving the TIF assistance, we're just approving the bid itself, the cash
purchase.
bid?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
The amount, okay.
That's correct.
Roll call, Madam President?
Yes.
Trustee Ely.
Yeah.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Brown Marino.
Yes.
Madam President, this carries 6-0. Thank you, Mr. Attorney.
Thank you, Board.
Mr. Commissioner. Next item on the agenda, item 8, new business. A resolution authorizing and approving an emergency repair agreement with Geno's Heating and Plumbing, Inc. for the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Jones, seconded by trustee Tierney. Madam President, it's open for discussion.
Trustee Ely?
So just a question, isn't this the third contract for Geno's that we'll be approving for this year? He's got a nice little firm, but I don't know how many workers he's got to be satisfying 3 contracts. So that's all.
Thank you, trustee Tierney.
The only thing, he's a local company. I have no problem with Geno's Plumbing. Again, it's just the bills. We'll talk about that later, but I have no problem with it.
Okay, thank you, trustee Jones.
I have no problem with it. He's been here for a while.
Trustee Horn?
No comments, thank you.
Trustee Abraham?
None.
Trustee Brown Marino?
Well, the problem I have with this is we got our material at 11:30 Saturday night, and as I'm looking at the legislation, we have the resolution here, and it references Exhibit A, which is the actual agreement, but we don't have any exhibit. So what I have here is a resolution to approve an agreement without seeing the agreement. That just doesn't strike me as very responsible. So I don't know if the other trustees have received the agreement, but it's not in my packet, and I'm not comfortable voting on something I haven't seen.
Madam President, if I didn't get anything in the past, I always called and I got it. So all it takes is a phone call. I got mine because I asked for it.
Does that conclude your comment, trustee Brown Marino?
Yep.
Can I get a roll call, please, Mr. Clerk?
Roll call, trustee Ely? Trustee Ely, we're doing a roll call.
No.
Trustee Tierney?
Yes.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Abraham?
Yes.
Trustee Brown Marino?
No.
Madam President, this carries 4-2. Next item on the agenda, item B. An ordinance authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds, alternate revenue source, Series 2018 of the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $12 million for the purpose of improving the sites as well as building, altering, equipment and repairing the village's 911 call center and village hall, and for the purpose of acquiring such equipment as trucks, automobiles, computers, telecommunication devices, and public works and public safety vehicles, and the retention of certain professionals to provide services to the village in connection therewith.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Horn, seconded by trustee Tierney. Madam President, this is now open for discussion.
Trustee Ely?
I'm just, at the end, and the retention of certain professionals to provide services to the village. This is a lot of money, and I'm concerned about it. That concludes my comments.
Thank you, trustee Tierney.
Well, it was brought up earlier by one of the residents. If anybody knows what kind of problems we can have or could have, I understand it more than anybody. But I see this legislative team, the management team, and the finance team in this village, and I feel confident with them. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, trustee Jones.
My objections have been noted numerous times about this. I'm not gonna delay it.
Thank you, trustee Horn.
Nothing else to add, thank you.
Trustee Abraham?
I don't, because we've had enough discussion and enough information has been provided as we're trying to go forward with the old meeting the new and what we need to do. So, I mean, it's inevitable and it's something that has to be done.
Trustee Brown Marino?
As trustee Tierney alluded, you know, I recognize a pattern that I've seen before with the Vicinic administration, and this is part of it. In 2003, the village sold over $11 million in bonds, and part of the issue having to do with that, we had seen some general fund deficits going into that, including, as I recall, I believe it was $80,000 in fiscal year '02, $3.4 million in fiscal year '03, which was just before the bond sale, and then multi-million-dollar deficits for the next couple of years. which is what led to the massive layoffs and our not having any money to repair streets or do anything other than basically exist and cover our basic bills. When I think about the $12 million figure, if you go to the fiscal year 2017 financial statement, the audit, our total bonding ability right now, which is based on our equalized assessed value of all properties less the existing debt, is $12 million. I'm concerned that we picked a number and then tried to find a way to justify it. The bigger thing that really concerns me, and when I got this material, as I said, 11:30 Saturday night, I focused largely on the bond ordinance, which I don't have the full page number here on the iPad. I think it was 46 pages. And that is strictly the ordinance itself. And as I read through it, I'm alarmed that we don't have some of the basic information, including what kind of interest rate we're looking at, what kind of term we're looking at. At previous meetings, we were told it was going to be a 10-year term. Is that still the case? Is it 20, 25-year? What the debt service is, and specifically how we're going to repay these bonds. I've heard some information at different meetings. I tried to listen to the, even though I wasn't able to be here, to the Finance Committee meeting. Sometimes it's very difficult to make out what Mr. Hicks is saying. But my understanding is that it's going to be a combination of working with the 2-year deferment till we get our first payment, using the money that we'll be collecting from Maywood for their share of the build-out for the early payments, and then the rollover bonds, which those who have been coming to meetings for years, you've heard me talk about how uncomfortable I am with the rollover bond. But I still don't have any kind of numbers. As a trustee, and Trustee Abraham was on the board at the time, Trustee Jones was Mayor Jones when we had the water bonds, for example, that were proposed in 2012. And I distributed material and information. As a trustee, I have not only a responsibility, but a legal liability to ensure that the financial information that associated with the bonds is correct. And I have no financial information associated with this. Now, it's a difficult position because I do agree that we do need to sell bonds. The problem is how much in the bonds? Is it really a smart thing to do to go ahead and completely max out on our bonding ability right now? I'm uncomfortable with the vagueness of how we're going to be spending this money. Again, like I said, it strikes me that I suspect that we saw the $12 million figure as our bond borrowing potential and picked the number and then tried to find ways to work it out. So there's a lot of reasons why I'm very, very concerned about this. And yet I do know that we need to move forward with the 911 consolidation. And that, frankly, is the reason that I didn't initiate a backdoor referendum, because it's not a matter of do we or don't we, it's a matter of how much and how we do it. And not having any numbers to work with, the ordinance itself talks about various types of alternate revenue sources, but it doesn't give me any kind of numbers. In 2012, we were handed numbers moments before we were asked to vote on that bond ordinance. Part of the reason I didn't reach out to anyone is 11:30 Saturday night, and it took time to go through this. But part of it, too, is I thought that that's what was going to happen tonight, that at the very least we would get these basic figures, the basic information. What is the debt service? What is the term? What are we approving? And frankly, the idea that this board, like you just did with the Geno's contract, that I don't believe anybody's seen, that you're willing to vote on something that you don't know.
We're talking about the bond ordinance. Keep the conversation to the bond ordinance. That's our rule.
I am. Please don't interrupt me.
You have 30 more seconds to speak before I move on.
You know what? I am sick and tired of you talking about being transparent. You are as transparent as a brick wall.
According to you.
No. Not according to me.
The bond team, can you come address some of the concerns as it relates to it? You just rambling.
Good evening, Madam
This
Mayor
is
and
transparency.
trustees. I'm Tom Reedy with Georgia K. Bond Company. I was here last month at the bonding hearing, talking a little bit about the security sources for the bonds and some of the plan of finance. To answer some of your questions, and I apologize if I missed some of them, but what is in front of the board tonight is known as a parameters bond ordinance, and it sets forth the parameters for the sale of the bonds. There's been no sale to this point in time, so there are no final numbers yet. But I know that the parameters set forth in the bond issue is a final year of a 20-year term, so final payment in 2038, a not to exceed interest rate amount of 5%, and then the not to exceed par amount obviously is right in the title of the ordinance, $12 million. There is a not to exceed debt service, annual debt service number, which is 1.2 million. That is on the conservative side, as is typical with the parameters bond ordinance to set the annual debt service target on the conservative side. We would expect that to come into closer to right around $1 million a year. As you mentioned, there is capitalized interest expected for the first 2 years, so that interest will be provided for out of proceeds of the bonds and not kick in until 2 years out. And then the principal would actually start being paid the year after the 2003 issue that you referenced is paid off.
And when you're talking about the revenue from the bonds, we're referring again to the money that we'll be collecting from Maywood. And I say that because after that, according to the intergovernmental agreement, then we just split the ongoing expenses 50-50 with them.
The legal revenues that are identified in the bond ordinance are, it's about a 3-line thing, but it's the rollover bond proceeds.
Right.
That's referenced in there, and then sales taxes are referenced in there also. And then there's a third, there is a property tax attached to it, but that's historically been abated each year, and the villages had a habit, as you know, with the rollover bonds, has habitually done that each fall to provide for payment of its outstanding alternate revenue source bonds.
And when we get to the time when we're dependent on the rollover bonds, our rollover bonds have been kept at under $1 million, so that they're not subject to a backdoor referendum.
They've been kept to under, not necessarily 1 million, but they've been kept at
half of 1% of the
1/2 of 1% of the EAV, and that's the legal, the statutory debt limitation for the rollover bonds. So the village's EAV increased for the 2007 assessment to 250 million roughly. So that has gone up to about 1,250,000 now. Now we wouldn't anticipate issuing all of that unless, we would only anticipate right around $1 million. For reference, last year's issue was 975,000. So we would keep it right in the same area where it is now.
And with the rollover bonds, they've historically, between the underwriter's cost, the bond counsel, the issuer's counsel, the various different expenses, plus interest, we're looking at $25,000, $27,000 a year that it costs us for the rollover bonds, correct?
In that neighborhood, well, I can't recall offhand, but yes. There are costs associated with it each year. And one other just item I wanted to address, this goes back to the debt limitation. That is 8.625 of the village's current EAV. So I think it is a little higher than the 12 million number right now, closer to 19 or 20. But the nature of alternate revenue bonds in Illinois, well, it would be 16 million just for 200 million in EAV plus another 50, so about 20 million, just roughly. But the statutes in Illinois that allow for alternate bonds state that they do not count against your statutory debt limitation unless that property tax, the GO property tax is extended for their payment. So they are exempt from debt limitations.
The rollover bonds?
No,
No,
the alternate
the
revenue
alternate
source
revenue
bonds
source
do
bonds.
not count. The rollover bonds, as those actually are extended for payment, those do count. But of course, those are small and paid off each year, roughly $1 million.
And when the bonds are issued, we are required to also provide financial information about the village, correct? At the village and the source of payment and what have you.
Correct.
Can I get a copy of that? Can I see what the financial information is that's associated with the village?
So there's a public document that we put together in accordance, or along with council, called a POS, that lays out all the financials of the village. What we use when presenting a bond issue to the market is really an amalgamation of information from the county clerk's office, information from the village's own audits, and then there are the calculations done, as I referenced, on the village's actual debt limitation. Those calculations are presented in the POS, and that's what we have at this point, because we haven't gone to sale yet. Once we have gone to sale, there will be final numbers available for the village, and obviously for the board to review.
And you're the one who's preparing the financials associated with the bonds?
Not preparing the financials, using some of the information within the village's financials to present to investors.
The reason I ask this is, again, in 2012, when there was the proposed water bonds, the financial information that we were given as a board moments before we were asked to vote, at first I thought it was prepared by our finance director. She said no, it wasn't. I asked Mr. Hood, he said he hadn't done it, and then it turned out the underwriter had prepared it. That's the reason I was asking if you're preparing the financial information.
We will prepare the debt service schedules themselves. And those, as I said, we have an estimation at this point, but we haven't gone to sale yet. This is a parameters bond ordinance that approves going to sale. That will be provided to the village once the numbers are final. So
after we've already voted.
With the parameters, the numbers must be within the parameters that are set forth in the parameters bond ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Reedy.
A maximum of 5%. So.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, can I get a roll call, please?
Yes, you can, Madam President. Trustee Ely.
Yes.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
No.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Brown Marino.
No.
Madam President, this carries 4-2.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, thank you, sir. Next item on the agenda, item C, an ordinance authorizing and approving the disposal of personal property for the village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Move to table.
Second.
Until the next meeting.
Second.
Been properly motioned by Trustee Ely, seconded by Trustee Brown Marino to table. Madam President, this is, are we discussing this?
We table it, we don't discuss it.
Okay, roll. Madam President, would you like to roll call?
Yes, please.
Trustee Ely.
Yes.
Trustee Tierney.
No.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee Horn.
No.
Trustee Abraham.
No.
Trustee Brown Marino.
Yes.
And Madam President, I need your vote for the tie.
No.
Okay, this motion fails to table. Is there another motion on the table?
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Horn, seconded by Trustee Tierney. Madam President, now it's open for discussion.
Trustee Ely?
Well, like some of the other legislation we've had tonight, it references an Exhibit A, the personal property. We have no idea what this is. It's just that Public Works wants to get rid of something. It's incomplete, you know, which is why I made the move to table. That's it.
Trustee Tierney?
I don't have anything.
Trustee Jones?
Yeah, no.
Trustee Horn?
The ordinance that was presented allows Public Works to get rid of old equipment and things that are not usable. And this is in response to the bonds being issued in the effort to purchase new equipment. So they want to have the ability to sell stuff that they're simply not using, and this gives them the authority to do it. The same thing happened with the police department when they wanted to get rid of old vehicles.
And they.
And this, please, you know, and so this is an attempt to not micromanage the daily operations of the village, you know, allow them to function, to get rid of the stuff that they're not using, to make room for the new stuff that's coming in. I did have some questions about it, and considering the fact I go to work every single day, I was able to get all the information I needed to be prepared for tonight. I did have questions about it. I went to the finance director and got those questions answered. I went to Public Works and got those questions answered. And I synced up with the mayor to ensure that I had a real good understanding of what actually was taking place. And so this is allowing them to dispose of stuff that they're not using, and it gives them several options. In addition to selling equipment, there are other options that they can take advantage of when it comes to how to manage the equipment that's either costing too much to maintain or simply not functioning. And that's what it is. I don't have any other comment. Thank you.
Trustee Abraham?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. Trustee Brown Marino?
Not only did we, again, get this late Saturday night, but on this afternoon, we got an amended ordinance. And the amended ordinance here says, I'll just read the one paragraph. Whereas the village has identified 2 Department of Public Works vehicles attached hereto as Exhibit A that have either been taken out of service, et cetera. As Trustee Ely said, and I agree with him on this, we don't have an Exhibit A. Now, perhaps Trustee Horn had the time today to chase down and find out what those 2 vehicles were. I didn't. And I was much more concerned about the bond ordinance and concentrating my limited time in 20 hours that we had to review this stuff. But again, I find it alarming that there's so many board members who are willing to vote on something and they don't even know what they're voting on.
Okay. That's not a true statement. I do
Oh,
know.
that's a gamble? It's a free
That-
fall?
That's not true.
Considering I'm the chair of this.
It's
board-
a
Hold
free
on, hold
fall?
on. That's not, that's,
All right.
Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, you can, Madam President. And this again is, a motion to approve. Trustee Ely.
No.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones. No. Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Brown Marino.
No.
Madam President, again, I need your tie-breaking vote.
Yes.
And this passes 4-3. Next item on the agenda, item D. A resolution of the Village of Broadview, finding State of Illinois reappointing Trent Carey to the firefighters pension board.
I motion to approve.
Second.
Been properly motioned by Trustee Tierney, seconded by Trustee Ely. Madam President.
Trustee Ely?
No comments.
Trustee Tierney?
Yes, I know Trent, I've worked with him on the pension board for many years. He knows the system, he knows what to do. He's willing to go out and do the extra, you have to put in so many hours a year, he's willing to do that.
Oh, Madam President, I take that back. I just had
No,
one
you don't have the
quickie.
floor, wait.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Trustee Jones?
I have nothing.
Trustee Horn?
No comment.
Trustee Abraham?
None.
Trustee Brown Marino?
Nothing.
Trustee Ely, you wanted to make a comment?
Yes, this is to reappoint Trent Perry, who currently serves on the firefighters pension board. At the end of the agenda, it's, item L, that's the swearing in of Trent. He doesn't have to be sworn in. This is, he's already been sworn in, but the other person, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Can we get a roll call, please, Mr.
Yes, you
Clerk?
can, Madam President. Trustee Ely.
Yes.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones. Aye. Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Brown Marino.
Yes.
Madam President, this carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, item E, a resolution of the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois, appointing Sandra Buckler to the Firefighters Pension Board.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Been properly motion by trustee Abraham, second by trustee Tierney. Madam President.
Trustee Ely?
No comments.
Trustee Tierney?
I don't know this lady, but I think if she's willing to go to the hours, 32 hours, I believe it is, first year, and then 16 hours afterwards, anybody who's willing to put in that kind of time, for them.
She's here. Trustee Jones?
I have none.
Trustee Horn?
Congratulations. Nothing.
Trustee Abraham?
No, thank you.
Trustee Brown Marino?
I have no comment.
Ms. McCoy? That's Ms. McCoy, you understand?
Okay.
Can we get a roll call,
Wanted to see who
please?
you were.
Yes, you can, Madam President. Roll call. Trustee Ely.
I'm sorry, you called her McCoy?
McCoy.
McCoy, okay, okay. All right. Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Brown Marino.
Yes?
And Madam President, this carries 6-0. Next item on the agenda, item F, an ordinance amending Title 8, Chapter 9 of the Village of Broadview Code of Ordinances regarding the regulation and licensing of small cell facilities in the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Abraham, seconded by trustee Tierney. Madam President.
Trustee Ely?
No comments, just wonder what it is.
The small cell? Mr. Attorney, you want to explain the small cell facilities?
It comes with the authority
Yeah,
of the
the-
village to be able to regulate the rights of way. This ordinance was clarifies the village code relative to recent enactments for the small cell legislation that we talked about previously.
Well, we passed a small cell ordinance some time ago. This is just adding it to the code?
It's clarifying.
Clarifying.
Yes. Thank you.
Trustee Tierney?
Nothing.
Trustee Jones?
Oh, I have none.
Trustee Horn?
Nothing.
Trustee Abraham?
None.
Trustee Brown Marino?
I have nothing.
Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, Madam President. Trustee Ely.
Yes.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Aye.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Brown Marino.
Yes?
Madam President, this carries 6-0.
Thank you.
I need to be excused, Madam President.
Next item on the agenda, item G, a resolution authorizing a certain advisory referendum regarding minimum age to purchase tobacco to be placed on the ballot to be voted on at the general election to be held on November 6, 2018 for the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Mr. Clerk, let the record show that Trustee Jones left at 9:37.
The record will reflect that, Madam President. Thank you.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Abraham, seconded by Trustee Horn. Madam President.
Trustee Ely?
No comments.
Trustee Tierney?
No comment.
Trustee Horn?
Nothing.
Trustee Abraham?
None.
Trustee Brown Marino?
No, no comment.
Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, you can, Madam President. Trustee Ely.
Yes.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones is now absent. Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Brown Marino.
Yes?
Madam President, this carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, item H, a resolution authorizing a certain advisory referendum regarding fines for littering in the Village of Broadview to be placed on the ballot to be voted on at the general election to be held on November 6, 2018 for the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Abraham, seconded by Trustee Horn. Madam President.
Trustee Ely?
I was just reading the proposed changes. Of course, it's just an advisory referendum, but they want to increase the fines for littering from a minimum of 50 and a max of 250 to a minimum of 150 and a max of 750. It's a lot of money for littering, but it's that concludes my comment.
Thank you. Trustee Tierney?
I don't have anything.
Trustee Horn?
No comment.
Trustee Abraham?
None.
Trustee Brown Marino?
I have nothing.
Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, you can, Madam President. Trustee Ely.
Yes.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones is absent. Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Brown Marino.
Yes?
And Madam President, this carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, item I, A motion to approve a block party permit request for the 2300 block of 22nd Avenue on August 11th, 2018, from 12 p.m. to 9:30 p.m.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Abraham, seconded by trustee Tierney. Madam President, may I add that this has gone through the safety committee and has been approved by Chief Eugley?
Okay, thank you. Trustee Ely?
No comment.
Trustee Tierney?
No comment.
Trustee,
Nothing.
Trustee Abraham?
None.
Trustee Brown Marino?
Nope.
Roll call, please.
Roll call, trustee Ely.
Yes.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones is absent. Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Brown Marino.
Yes.
And Madam President, this carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, item J, a motion to approve a block party permit request for the 2200 block of 15th Avenue on August 25th, 2018, from 12 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Abraham, seconded by trustee Horn. Madam President, again, this has gone through the safety committee and approved by Chief Eugley.
Thank you. Trustee Ely?
No comment.
Trustee Tierney?
No comment.
Trustee Horn?
Nothing, thank you.
Trustee Abraham?
None.
Trustee Brown Marino?
No comment.
Mr. Clerk?
Roll call, trustee Ely.
Yes.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones is absent. Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Brown Marino.
Yes.
Madam President, this carries 5-0. Next item on the agenda, item K, a motion to approve a facade improvement agreement between the Village of Broadview and Broadview True Value for the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Abraham, seconded by trustee Tierney. Madam President, let me just add, we have attorney from Montana and Welch here to, that is able to speak a little bit more on this, and also Commissioner Upshaw in case the trustees
Commissioner
have
Upshaw.
questions.
Yes.
Before you have a facade application from True Value. They've been a staple in the community probably since I was a kid, so we're talking at least 25, 30 years or more. In the past, they applied for, I think, 2 facade applications. They never reached the board because they were having problems as it relates to contractors and pricing. And then when they received when they actually got the bids, they themselves didn't have the financial resources. Now at this stage, they have the contractors, they have the resources, and they're ready to move forward with the improvement of their property, which is the front of the True Value business.
Thank you. Trustee Ely?
But this is just the end of a long period related to the first agreement. They just never got the work done.
Yes.
All right, let me ask you
Yes,
this.
that's correct.
How long ago was that? Because we have a 5-year limit on these.
Well, this is a new application. If you look at the application with the bids.
This would be considered new.
Yes, it would be considered new. And they actually came in and met with me, and we sat down and met with the mayor, and the mayor made the recommendation because it had passed the 5 years. I think it was like 2012 or 2013 that they resubmit. And so that's what you have before you is a new application, but it's really the things that were on the previous application that they didn't get done. They didn't have the resources for.
And you think it's been more than 5 years?
Oh, it has. It has.
Okay.
Does that conclude your
Yes.
comments? Trustee Tierney?
No, don't have it.
Trustee Horn?
Nothing, thank you.
Trustee Abraham?
None.
Trustee Brown Marino?
I have no comment.
Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, we can, Madam President. Trustee Ely.
Yes.
Trustee Tierney.
Yes.
Trustee Jones is absent. Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Brown Marino.
Yes.
And Madam President, this carries 5-0. Thank you, dears. Okay, item L, swearing in of Trent Perry to the Firefighters Pension Board.
Move to strike. We don't need it.
I think it just needs a letter from the mayor.
Yeah.
Okay, so can I get a second motion?
Second.
Okay, so it's been properly motioned by trustee Ely, seconded by trustee Brown Marino to strike. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing no opposition, this item L has been stricken from the record, or stricken from the vote. Next item on the agenda, Item M, swearing in of Sandra Buckhoy to the Firefighters Pension Board.
Motion to approve.
You know what, in
No,
the
we already
past,
approved her.
Just have
Please
to
swear.
let me just say this.
Forward,
There's
swear.
a line item on the agenda because we're taking the action on.
Right.
Do we need a motion?
We don't need a motion.
We don't
No.
need a motion. We already did. You're up.
No.
Congratulations.
Now it's on Steve.
Yeah, I think she's sworn.
Yeah.
So please raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Sandra Buckhoy,
I, Sandra McCoy,
having been appointed to the Firefighters Pension Board
having been appointed to the firefighters pension board
in the Village of Broadview,
in the village of Broadview,
County of Cook,
county of Cook,
State of Illinois,
state of Illinois,
do solemnly swear that I will support
do solemnly swear that I will support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
as a board member according to the best of my ability.
as a board member according to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. You'll be busy. There you go. Perfect.
Congratulations, Ms. Congratulations, and thank you for serving.
Thank you for taking this.
Get you some coffee.
Thank you very much. This is your copy. Okay, you ready, Madam President? Next item on the agenda, item 9, application for the authority to expend funds. We have none. Item 10, village clerk. I have a couple of items. Number one, the village website is down today, but I expect that that will be up and running very soon. If you do need to get a link to the live stream recording of tonight's meeting, you can contact the clerk's office. I will provide that link via email. Village clerk's office hours are from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you contact me and I'm not available, please leave a message. I will get back to you. Next, August 8th, Wednesday, is the first day to apply for mail-in ballots for the upcoming election on November 6th. The village clerk has provided a schedule directly from the Cook County Clerk's Office regarding the November 6th election. It's going to give you specific dates on every deadline that's going to be coming up and passing for that election. One of the things that we've been challenged with is the 6 precincts in Broadview are currently housed, or have been currently housed in 4 buildings. I'm sorry, 5 buildings. 2 of those buildings are under construction. That would be the Village Hall and the library. So through the summer of 2019, those facilities will not be utilized as polling places. So the mayor's asked me to reach out to a couple of different entities to partnership in hopes to relocate precinct 33 and 38 being hosted here at the Village Hall to another location. Tentatively, we have come to an agreement with the Park District. They've been very helpful and cooperative with us. The facility is more than large enough to accept that capacity. So tentatively, and that will be further announced when it is final, precincts 33, 38, and 81 will be housed at Beverly Center. As of last March, when the construction for the library happened, that precinct as well was no longer available, so that location has been moved to the Park District at Schroeder Park. So you'll have 2 precincts at Schroeder, 3 probably at Beverly, and then 5 at Roosevelt School for the upcoming election. I expect that to hold true for the April election as well. We have information coming out in the newsletter, and it will be available as well on the clerk's tab. That's it, Mayor, Madam President. Next item on the agenda, item 11, Village President, Mayor Katrina Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Just a few announcements. Don't forget, tomorrow night is National Night Out. We'll parade from the firehouse down to Schroeder Park. Also, we received a letter from Rush. So Rush is where the fire chief had gotten the stroke mobile unit to come in town, so I got some really good news. The letter reads, on behalf of the Rush University Medical Center Mobile Stroke Unit, we would like to thank you and the Broadview community for participating in this innovative new program. The Rush Mobile Stroke Unit, MSU, brings vital emergency stroke care to the patient's home or business and reduces the amount of time it takes for evaluation and treatment by a physician. Time is critical in the care of stroke patients, and expedited treatment can be the difference between a permanent disability and achieving a full recovery. During the first 8 months of the MSU program, we have treated and transported multiple patients, 2 of which received the clot-busting medication called TPA, which is used for strokes caused by blood vessels having a sudden blockage from blood clot. These patients were treated within 60 minutes and significantly improved by the time we reached the closest hospital facility. We also recently cared for our first patient who had bleeding in the brain, and were able to deliver him to the highest level of care within 60 minutes. Our operating hours previously been from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 days a week. We are happy to announce we are planning to expand our services to a 24/7 operation beginning September 10th, 2018. We are very excited to be able to provide expanded services to your community and expect this to bring greater benefits to your residents. For more information about the Rush Mobile Stroke Unit Program, please feel free to reach out to any time using my contact information below. And this is from Kirk Burst, the Nurse and Operations Manager, the Mobile Stroke Unit. So that's really good news that we started out as a testing site, and now they bring it on 24/7. They was just doing 12 hours during the day, so that's pretty awesome that the chief had took the initiative to get this implemented for the surrounding area, especially Broadview. Also, some of the comments tonight as it relates to, so the clerk passed out an attendance record, and one of the trustees says that they would be interested in what was the attendance for prior years in attendance. Well, I just want the record to reflect that previous years, we've only been in office 15 months, the clerk and myself. So we can only go back 15 months. So I think we just missed probably a couple of months, so we can get that. But prior years, those that imposed the question should know what the track record was and should have been keeping attendance at that time. Also, we talked about a lot of things tonight, and you know what's so profound and just when we talk about transparency and how we spend our taxpayer dollars. So I took the liberty to write this statement because I wanted to be very, very clear on how we spend money and how we look at legal bills, on how we spend our tax dollars as it relates to legal bills. Let's keep in mind, another taxing body is suing the village of Broadview, so it's costing us, this village, this board is costing us to defend that case. So that's one issue. The other one is, it was brought by less than the majority of the board, specifically 2 trustees, Brown Marino and Ely, against Mayor Thompson, Trustee Jones, and our budget director, Thomas Hood. The case spans 37 pages and contains allegations related to the fiscal year 2016 budget and appointments about the same time period. This case will be costly to defend, and at this point, we are more than 2 budgets and 2 years of appointments past the action alleged in this complaint. So when we talk about our tax dollars and how we spend money, let's keep in mind that it's the same board and other taxing bodies that's suing this board, and it's costing us a lot of money to defend those cases. So when we talk about transparency and how we look at tax dollars and how we look at the legal bills, let's be real clear that it's elected officials that sit on this board and it's other elected officials and taxing bodies that's keeping these lawsuits against us, where we spending money on that when we should be saving money to do more within our community. So let's talk about transparency.
Excuse me, Mayor, I'm sorry. Let the record reflect that at 9:54 p.m., Trustee Brown Marino is leaving the meeting.
Also, let's talk. So now I want to address the public comments. So Ms. Cushman, she talked about the food pantry expanding their hours, but let's keep in mind that most certainly I am a servant. And when you serve with transparency and you do it with the goodness of your heart. When she came before the board to present the food pantry, she identified herself as being the board president for this nonprofit, but what she failed to tell us was that Trustee Brown Marino was behind the food pantry. So Trustee Brown Marino is the contact person for the Broadview Service Pantry, which I don't have a issue with that, but if you're gonna be transparent and you have a sitting trustee that's on this board, that should have been disclosed up front. Furthermore, when I did further investigation as it related to the food pantry at that time, they were not a part of the Chicago Food Depository. So I looked it up tonight. They are members of the Chicago Food Depository. I don't know when that took place. But when I asked Ms. Cushman, when she came to solicit my support and my help, I asked her to contact my office and to get on my calendar so that we can talk about how we can be proactive and work with the community as it relates to the Broadview service, because I service the Westchester Food Pantry. I'm a big advocate of the programs that they have over there, and they service Broadview residents. As of right now, at 10 o'clock, that meeting has not been scheduled. She has not called my office to schedule an appointment to meet with me, nor has the person that's the chair of the Broadview Service Pantry, which is a sitting trustee, have notified my office to schedule a meeting. So when we talk about transparency and we're talking about serving and helping one another, let's help one another and be transparent and act like adults and have a meeting to have these discussions on how we can help and how we can service our community. We can't do it when you're trying to prepare yourself for an election and then you want to do something good for the people. That's wrong, that's manipulative, and that's undermining, and I don't like that. We did address the bond issue, so I hope you all got clear on that. Ms. Redmond, in her public comments tonight, she talked about Bragg the Drive and the funding with that. So we have Chris here as it relates to the funding. We did get $145,000 from Cook County. We just got a grant, and I think I made that announcement at the last, so that would go toward that project. So we will, Trustee Abraham is gonna have regular finance meetings, and in these finance meetings, this is when we talk about transparency. We talk about how we spend our monies for projects such as Bragg the Drive, because we do have to come up with additional monies outside of the federal funding that we got awarded. So those are the dialogues that we're gonna be having. Trustees, when the other trustees chair committees, it's very professional for the other trustees to engage and to participate, not via watching it online or anything like that. That way, a lot of the questions as we that came up tonight in the long conversation as it related to the bond issue got addressed in the finance committee meeting. When you don't show up, you fail to do your job and you fail to do your obligatory duties as it relates to being an effective trustee. So let us be known. And as it relates to the IGA, if you would like a copy of the IGA, it's public knowledge. I'm more than happy to make you a copy of the IGA where you can read it at your leisure if that's what you so. So if that's what you want, just let the clerk know, okay? And you don't have to go through the FOIA process. You know, we want to be transparent. You're a resident, so we open to that. Ms. Dempsey, she did bring up a valid point as it relates to the 911 center being on the website. So as we go through this process and we're having regular committee meetings with either the building or the fire and police or the finance committee, things that come up as it relates to the 911 consolidation and the municipal build out, those things should be on our website. So those would be things that we make public as it relates to the layout or the documentation, so that we are very transparent so that the community can see the document. And also in this news, the upcoming newsletter, that information is included in the newsletter as well for those that don't go online or anything like that. So we want to be very transparent in how we conduct ourselves. But let's just keep in mind as it relates to certain things and being transparent and being upfront and just saying who you are. If I had something that I wanted this board to support, I would say, I have something that I want the board to support. I wouldn't have another member of the community stand before us to make it seem like it's something other than what it is. And then when you start doing investigations and then when you ask for people to have meetings with you and they fail to do so. If you want me to meet with you, I have an open door policy. And I am big, big, big on serving the village of Broadview. because we deserve nothing but the very best at all levels. When I collect food for the Westchester Food Pantry, but if you're doing backdoor unethical things with an ulterior motive behind it, I cannot support that, because that is not the God way to do things when you're serving. So with that being said, I just want to thank everybody for coming out, and God bless you, and we'll see you at the next meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Horn, seconded by Abraham to adjourn the meeting. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Hearing no opposition, this meeting is hereby adjourned at 10 o'clock p.m.